Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Find Your Model Health, the official podcast of Shemaine's Model Health for those looking to optimize their long-term health and weight goals and understand the biochemistry of their body. So I'm your host, I'm Shemaine Linney. I'm a fitness and nutrition expert, biohacker and certified iridologist, and I'm very happy to have you back with me this week for another episode where we're looking at the kidneys and kidney damage. Before we go on, I must remind you that the information in these podcasts is not to be taken as medical advice and should be used for informational purposes only. Okay, so this week we're looking at kidney health and what you can do to support your kidney. This is going to be a two-part series. Next week we're going to look just a little bit more at kidney damage and testing and a few other bits regarding kidney health. So do keep an eye out for that. But for this week then, we're looking at what are the kidneys and what are some preventative ways that we can prevent kidney damage? So your kidneys are fist-sized organs located at the bottom of your rib cage, so on both sides of your spine, and they perform many functions, but most importantly, they filter our blood, they filter waste products, excess water, and other impurities that you might find in your blood. Then these waste products are stored in your bladder and then later expelled through your pee. So every 30 minutes, your kidneys filter all the blood in your body to help you remove waste and toxins and excess fluids. So that's insane. Every 30 minutes, all of the blood in your whole body is getting ran through these kidneys. And when you think about that, that's kind of mind-blowing. It may be just for me because I have that sciencey brain, but I think it's pretty cool. Our body is pretty cool. But in addition, your kidneys regulate pH, they regulate salt and potassium levels in your body. They also produce hormones that help regulate blood pressure and control the production of red blood cells. Your kidneys are also responsible for activating vitamin D that helps your body absorb calcium for, of course, building strong bones and helping with a good immune system and regulating muscle function. So the kidneys are super important, and maintaining kidney health is important to your overall health and general well-being. So by keeping your kidneys healthy, your body will filter and expel toxic waste products properly and then produce the hormones your body needs to function properly. Healthy kidneys also, of course, support a healthy liver, a healthy heart, and a very important healthy brain. Now, when we look at kidney disease, though, kidney disease affects approximately 26 million American adults. And that occurs when your kidneys become damaged and can't perform the way we want them to. And damage can be caused by several things, and we're going to look at some of this as we go through the podcast. But we usually see damages caused by diabetes, high blood pressure, and various other chronic or long-term conditions. Kidney disease can lead to other health problems, of course, including weak and brittle bones, nerve damage, and malnutrition. So they're super important little guys. If one has kidney disease and if it gets worse over time, there is potential that your kidneys may stop working completely. This means that dialysis may be required to perform the function of the kidneys. And dialysis is a treatment that filters and purifies your blood using a machine. So basically a mechanical kidney. It can't cure kidney disease, but it can prolong your life. Quality of life, though, that is somewhat questionable. Okay. Now, kidney disease is becoming more and more common, as are a lot of other diseases or illnesses. And we're seeing as the evolution of man and how we live and how we eat grows, so do all of these diseases. So some of the top recommendations you might hear around kidney disease is cut out the red meat or lower your protein intake, cut out the salt, and these may all be very helpful when you already have kidney disease. But do they prevent kidney disease? The general consensus in the functional medicine and biohacking world says no, these foods do not cause kidney disease, but removing them may help you manage kidney disease. So then we're looking at, well, what might be driving kidney disease? And when we understand that, then we can look to those areas for preventative measures. So we know, as mentioned above, according to statistics, that about 80% of all kidney transplants happen to diabetics. This tells us that there is a connection between diabetes and kidney disease. But what is that connection? Well, of course, it's high blood sugar. If you have issues with high blood sugar and issues with your kidneys, this could be very valuable information for you. So pay attention. So when we have chronic or excessively high blood sugar, the cells become resistant to insulin. So that glucose that's floating around our bloodstream, it can't get into the cells where we want it to go, where it would be used for energy. So if it can't get into the cells, then it ends up hanging around in our bloodstream for longer, causing havoc. And when we have glucose or sugar floating around our bloodstream longer, it's basically like a toddler with no parental guidance. It's just running around, breaking stuff and tearing up the house. Then when you eventually calm the toddler or the glucose down, some long-term damage has already been done. So when glucose is left floating around the bloodstream, it has to go somewhere, and it ends up flowing through the kidneys and causes a lot of stress. So it creates what we call AGEs, which are advanced glycation end products, and these are very harmful compounds that are formed when proteins or fats combine with sugar in the bloodstream. Basically, AGEs, they sugarcoat stuff and create oxidative stress, or stress that damages cells and mitochondria and causes lots of inflammation. So you can think of AGEs as aging a cell or damaging a cell. So another way to look at it would be, the brown sugar on the top of a creme brulee. Well, that's the same process that's happening in your body. So that is that oxidative stress happening to the sugar, which happens inside our body. And that can happen to all various kidney structures that help with our filtration. So high levels of blood sugars is a big player in kidney damage. The more you are insulin resistant, the more your kidneys have to deal with excess glucose. And this also, of course, has big impact on the liver too, and what we see nowadays of non-alcoholic fatty liver. So, of course, they're very much connected. Once something goes through the kidneys, it also has to go through the liver. So if you're concerned about future kidney issues or you want to support your overall health, then managing insulin and blood sugars should be at the top of your priority list. And I know if you're one of my clients or one of my long-term followers, you will be saying, wah, 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 she sounds like a broken record. And I do sound like a broken record, but unfortunately, it's the truth. So if anything, at least we are aware. So what else impacts kidney health? Well, another one that people don't think of is mold. So high levels of mycotoxins in your environment and even on your food, that's going to be very stressful on the kidneys. So that could be, when we look at your environment, that could be water damage or humidity or dampness in the house from not opening the windows enough and airing the house. And this, of course, is especially true for us in Alberta right now, where the winters are very long and like very extremely insanely cold, where if you don't want to open your window because it's so cold outside, you can't open your window because it's frozen. So this is something that we need to be aware of, especially when we have the cold on one side of the window, but we might have the heating on the other side. So when that warm air hits the cold window, it turns into moisture or condensation, and that's where dampness can build up. And humidity, of course, this is where moisture is in the air, is not evaporating fully, and once we have moisture sitting in the air or in the environment for more than 48 hours, we're going to see mold start to grow. And one of the places you may see this is if you have a bathroom that's not very well aired or doesn't have air conditioning after your shower or bath. If you don't open the windows or air that room properly, you're going to see mold start to grow around the shower and the bath and other areas where water would be found. So, and this mold, it'll start to grow and it'll start to spit out mycotoxins into the air. Now, there's hundreds of different mycotoxins and you can't necessarily see them, but they're very stressful on the body. And if you have a lot of mold in your house or your environment, you're going to be inhaling that. You're even going to be probably touching that. And then, of course, that has to get filtered through the kidneys. And when we look at mold then on food, we're very conscious, or at least I would hope my clients are very conscious, that we're looking at coffee and dark chocolate and even our tea leaves. So we're making sure they're very high integrity, good quality, organic. We're making sure that maybe our coffee is grown from single estate and high altitude, and maybe it's not washed, and all these different aspects. And even your nuts and your seeds, of course, we know they can grow mycotoxins. That's why we tend to store stuff like that in the fridge. So there's a lot to be taken into consideration. Also, keep an eye on stale food lying around, like bread or fruits that may be rolled under the couch or the fridge, or, kids like to shove food behind the TV and other places where it really shouldn't go. So that's all stuff that we should be taking into account, especially if you already are concerned about your kidneys. So then we would next look at heavy metals. So heavy metals like mercury, lead, chromium, silica and aluminium and all the others, they all have a big impact on the kidneys. So heavy metals in blood plasma, they exist in an ionized form, and that form is toxic, and when consistently being filtered through the kidneys, it can cause a lot of damage. And the extent of renal damage or kidney damage by heavy metals depends on the nature and the dose and the route and the duration of exposure. But when we look at our environment nowadays and how people live, the exposure to the kidneys with these things is pretty high. And remember, this includes the mercury or silver fillings in your mouth as well. So this is all something that can be very helpful for people. And then we look at pesticides. So pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. And this might sound a little contradictory because a few minutes ago I mentioned that mold is a problem. Now, one of the easiest ways to keep your home mold free is to open the window, let lots of fresh air in and sunlight. So how do we kill mold? We do the opposite to what it likes. So mold likes dampness and darkness. So we're going to open the window and create lots of sunlight and fresh air and warmth. So when we look at pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, all that sort of stuff, these are all going to be things that get processed through the kidneys and the liver and will have a stressful effect on the kidneys and the liver. So you're looking at choosing organic, of course, when you can, because I understand not everyone can afford to buy everything organic, but when you can, it's always wise to go organic. Make sure, again, you air your house, especially if you know that there's chemicals being sprayed locally or maybe on the land around you. If you have, so for instance, where I live, we have maintenance guys and they'll spray the grass in the summer. And I've asked them not to, but if some of that does get into the house and I keep the windows and doors closed, that means we're going to be inhaling it. So I like to keep the windows on all sides of the house open so I can get a nice breeze through that flushes out any toxins that may be in the house. So that's something to be aware of. And again, you could even take some activated charcoal to bind to excess chemicals or toxins in your body, and that can also help with overgrowth of mold within your body too. So activated charcoal is a really useful tool because it's a chelator, so it'll bind to bad stuff in your body and help you excrete it a lot better. So other organic chemicals, when we look at pesticides and herbicides, we also look at there's a number of solvents used in industry and home products like halogenated hydrocarbons, ethylene glycol, petroleum distillates, and a few others. And these can all be damaging to the microtubules and the tubular aspects of the kidney. So these can be very toxic. So this can be even your cleaning products in your house. So be aware of this stuff. And then we look at inorganic compounds like uranium salts. They can produce acute tubular injury and tubular necrosis in animals and humans, and we've seen this in studies. So I sound like a broken record, but this is all very important to know. So in summary, we want to look at high levels of glucose and fructose, so that's that insulin resistance, then mold and mycotoxins even on your foods, heavy metals, pesticides, and other chemicals that you may be inhaling or ingesting or even touching. So that would be your cleaning products and even mold growing in the house. Some other things that I would watch for as well for preventative measures is making sure that if you're having a lot of water, it's really clean, and lots of minerals are going to be essential too for good kidney health. Watch your blood pressure. We want to keep our blood pressure in a nice range along with inflammation. Inflammation needs to be in that nice range too. And these can be helpful for preventing any kidney damage. So I hope you found that helpful. Please do listen out for the follow-up episode next week. And of course, sharing is caring. Please share with anyone you feel may benefit, and also help us reach the masses and spread the word of how we can all take care of our bodies and our health a lot better. Okay, you guys, I hope you have a great, safe week. Get out and get some sunshine where you can. Of course, air your houses if the weather allows, and I will chat to you guys next week. Bye-bye.